Recording in progress.
First time with no mistakes all the way through.
Yeah.
Hi guys, my name's Dale and welcome to D&DGaming. In for review this time around is real-time strategy game
Explosion imminent. Enemy command destroyed.
Planetary Annihilation. Reviewing the game with me is my brother Dav.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Planetary Annihilation is a real-time strategy PC game developed by Uber Entertainment. The game was successfully crowdfunded on Kickstarter in 2012, with alpha release in 2013 and the full game release in 2014. The development team included devs that worked on Total Annihilation, a 1997 RTS game from which Planetary Annihilation takes a lot of influence from. In 2015, a standalone expansion, Planetary Annihilation Titans, was released, which includes the base game but adds more features. As of 2021, the game is still being regularly updated with new content. Just to note that due to owning the game prior to the Titans expansion, this review is based on the original game. So Dale, what are your first impressions?
Yeah, first impressions, fairly standard looking RTS game, perhaps similar to Command and Conquer, which is the kind of default RTS for a lot of people, but clearly different in the sense that, you know, you've got the ability to take out entire planets and conquer a complete kind of planetary system rather than just being based on I guess one planet or one particular scenario like a lot of RTS games. How about you?
Yeah, my first impression is RTS game on the sort of planetary map rather than the usual top-down flat map that you expect to see in RTS games, which is nice. Yeah, it makes a change from those typical RTS game maps that you would see. So what were your general thoughts after playing through?
Yeah, it was good to finally play it, to be honest. I was aware of Planetary Annihilation since the way back with the initial Kickstarter, and kind of kept an eye on it from then, back in 2012 actually. Followed the original development and alpha release, but never got around to buying it. It was reasonably expensive at the time, and as usual had such a backlog of other games to be playing, just never got around to actually buying it. So yeah, it was great to finally play it. I must have had it in my Steam library for years now, and yeah, you know, I've enjoyed it. It was good. So in terms of getting into the gameplay, it's good to have the player guide on the main menu, which is what I went to first, just to, you know, even though most RTS games are the same, the basics are pretty easy to grasp. It was good just to follow that through, just to see how it differed from other RTS games. And I followed a tutorial through as well, which was good actually. Just again, it took you from the very basics right through to the advanced combat in quite a short tutorial that was to the point. But again, just good to get to grips with the kind of subtleties of this particular game. So I played it on normal setting and found it generally quite forgiving, to be honest. Certainly until coming across multiple planets and the faction leaders, where it certainly started to ramp up in difficulty, and you know, especially when you're managing multiple planets. So I did find it quite fast-paced at times, and yeah, it certainly got more complicated as I got through the main campaign. How did you find it?
I'm not the biggest RTS player, and this is the first I've played in a long time. I didn't play Total Annihilation, which obviously this took a lot of influence from, but I've played some of the classic RTS titles like multiple Command and Conquer and Age of Empire games. Really, I mean, my RTS playing goes back to the classic June 2000 from 1998. But with this, I mean, I didn't go through the tutorial or anything like you did, and I probably should have, because I got absolutely obliterated on my first battle, and found it quite difficult actually, playing it on normal as well. And obviously these RTS games are difficult games, so there was no surprise there really. It felt like the usual RTS way of building up your forces and obliterating the enemies before they wipe the floor with you. But this did feel different, I think mainly due to the spherical map, which I'm in kind of two minds as to whether I like the map or not. I get why it's been done like it. Obviously it's called a Planetary Annihilation, but I'm not sold on the way it works and probably prefer the traditional RTS map really. The game is fast paced, as you pointed out. There's no hanging around or sort of slowly building up your base and your forces. You have to do it quite quickly, otherwise you just get overwhelmed by the enemy. In terms of graphic options,
yeah, quite limited graphic options really, but I mean mostly sufficient for the type of game it is. Certainly didn't find any issues with the options that were there.
Yeah, I found there weren't many really to choose from. Texture detail, shadow detail. Within these, they could be set to low, medium, high, or Uber. Ran with them all on Uber, basically.
Yeah, in terms of performance, I ran it all on Uber settings. Again, it is, older game now, and on a modern system, you should be able to pretty much play it at full settings. It did run very smooth, actually, no issues whatsoever. And in terms of bugs or anything like that, really, it is quite a basic graphic style. I actually quite liked the look of the graphics in a way, and you can zoom right down, and although they are basic, I get that they have to do it in these types of RTS games because they're trying to process at times so many units that are on screen, and you've got all the explosions and stuff going on that you can't always have the really detailed graphics. I mean, that being said, I've played like you were saying, a lot of RTS games in the past, and if they can be detailed as well as having all of that going on the screen, whether that's like Command and Conquer, which again the early ones weren't necessarily that detailed, but they certainly got better as they went through. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in the basic graphics, to be honest. But how did you find the performance generally?
Yeah, we'll put the PC specs up on screen, but I found it ran smoothly on my PC with everything on full, no problems to speak of graphically. Like I pointed out, the graphics aren't great. Zooming in on units and buildings does highlight quite a low polygon models for these, which I felt could have been better for a 2014 game. But as you point out, there is a lot going on within these RTS games when you're in battles and things, and so graphically they may not have wanted to slow things down or risk frame drops and things like that within battles. And I do wonder with this also having the map in the way that it is, where you can zoom out, you've got all that background of the planets moving around and things like that as well. And I do wonder whether that would have had a draw on those graphics as well, which you wouldn't get with one of the Command & Conquer games and things like that with their typical top-down map. So there may be a good reason they turned to that for their graphics, to a more basic style. Although the graphics weren't great, I didn't really feel it impeded the gameplay at all, and I liked some of the graphical elements, such as the way the buildings sort of come to life, which is quite cool. Also, sometimes there could be huge numbers of units in battles with explosions and gunfire going on everywhere, and I felt the game handled it quite well with no noticeable frame drop in chaotic situations. How did you find the player control options?
Yeah, being a PC game, it's not on console, so it's keyboard and mouse, and you got the full key bindings, which was nice, but yeah, limited. But you expect that with RTS games to just be mouse and keyboard. Although some have been adopted for console, I think personally it's much easier to manage these types of games just using the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I've not really got anything to add on that one. In terms of game mechanics, after choosing your commander, you start on the Galactic War map screen and you move between the planetary systems within the galaxy. As you do this, you move onto a system and either explore, which allows you to select discovered tech and add it to your empty tech slots, or fight, which sends you into a battle against a detected commander. Once a fight is initiated, you get a choice of 2 or 3 landing locations on the planet, and if the battle is across multiple planets, you sometimes get a choice of planets to land on, and these are procedurally generated and can vary from Earth-like planets with forests, mountains, deserts and water to near complete water worlds with small islands, and also complete lava worlds. Sometimes the battles are fought on moons that are orbiting gas planets, for example. Once landing is initiated, your chosen commander unit will blast down to the surface, from which you can then control the commander to start building your base. The game is very much a resource management strategy. And resources in the game come in the form of extracting metal using metal extracting units that have been placed in particular locations. Depending on your chosen landing position, sometimes the metal extracting positions may be scarce and you need to expand your base or create additional bases to include the extraction points. You also build power stations to create energy to power your buildings. The enemy will quickly scout out your base and begin attacking with increasing force, so speed is of the essence in this game.
In terms of the game modes, you have the single player element, which includes the Galactic War, which is essentially the main game mode, comprising of the Galactic War map, where battles are fought across the galaxy on different planets. The systems are procedurally generated and so different each time you start a new campaign. There's 4 factions in the main campaign, and you have 5 difficulty settings, plus there's a hardcore tick box, which has permadeath if your commander is killed. There's a whole range of default commanders to choose from. I counted 23, plus there's more to buy and unlock. Another element of single player is the AI skirmish, and then you have the multiplayer and the system designer, which means you can create your own systems and then have custom matches in those systems. So in terms of perks, upgrades or unlockables, these come in various forms. In terms of unlockables, you have numerous commanders, but they do actually cost, I know it's $1.99 each, and then others that are unlockable throughout the game.
There's also tech to advance your starting position when you go into battle, giving you more advanced buildings, units, or more health to units. So what did you think about the sound?
Yeah, I thought the sounds generally for like the bots and the vehicles, they were great. The firing sounds of those and the general ambient sounds were all really good actually. And the kind of voiceover from the, I guess it's like an AI system that provides the guidance, the beginning and end of the match. But although basic, and there's not much dialogue there, I thought that the voiceover was quite good for that. How did you find it?
Yeah, I found the sounds were good. Explosions, gunfire, all sounded sort of authentic and realistic, and yeah, quite futuristic as well. What did you think of the background music?
Yeah, I thought that it was good background music and certainly appropriate for the game.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome in this. Really good variety and sort of epic sounding, and really sort of suited the game. In terms of bugs, glitches, did you find any?
No, luckily I didn't come across any bugs or glitches at all actually.
Yeah, same. I didn't find anything, and yeah, graphically it ran really well.
So to sum up, in terms of things I liked about the game, I really liked the clean and simple UI that they used. You've got everything you need there. In RTS games, there's normally quite a lot that you're trying to manage, so you want to be able to get it to it quickly and efficiently. And yeah, I really like the way they set out the UI for this. I like the fact there's the in-game mods. That's a nice touch, and perhaps something that more devs could adopt, certainly the bigger AAA ones. In recent years, they seem to be clamping down on mods, and I like the fact there was literally a separate menu item for the in-game mods. That was a nice touch. I like the fact that you can upgrade to the Titans edition, which you talked about in the intro. If you've got the base game, which we both have, you can upgrade at a 90% discount at any time. Or if you're one of the original Kickstarter backers, you can upgrade for free. I like the fact the base game is still being updated regularly. There was actually an update just while I was playing it, and all these years later, and the fact that they've got the Titans expansion, they haven't just abandoned the original. They're still updating it. I thought that's really good. So what did you like about the game?
I like the multiple planet battles. They get really quite difficult to manage and take the difficulty up a notch, but they do make the game more interesting than just battles on a single planet. Some of the unit types are really cool, such as the orbital units and weapons that can move between planets in the system and attack ground units from orbit. And I thought the music was epic as well. So in terms of things you didn't like about the game?
So I did notice that units quite often get stuck against buildings. I found this very early on, and they seem to get stuck too easily. Again, as I went through, I didn't notice it so much, but early on, I just found that even during the tutorial, actually, the commander seemed to be struggling at points to actually navigate around buildings, which was just quite surprising. The general pathfinding of the units, I don't think was designed that well. But I mean, again, that may be something that just I noticed more of a personal issue with the way the bases are laid out rather than, a general issue. But it was something I noticed. I did find the campaign gets a little repetitive. I kind of found I didn't really want to play more than 2 or 3 rounds at a time in the Galactic War, just because it felt a bit just rinse and repeat. And it's not the sort of game where I wanted to just sit there for hours and just play through the campaign. I kind of found, right, there's one planet done, all right, on to the next one, it's going to be the same again, which it largely was. Again, it does get harder as you go through the campaign, and you start to get the multiple planets and the faction leaders. That really ramps up in difficulty. But if anything, a little in the easy side, in terms of, you touched on the fact earlier about how fast paced the game is. And that was kind of one of my biggest issues. It's almost, I realized very early on, the best thing to win the battle was to get it done just as quickly as possible, which again, that does apply to some RTS games. But in this, it was just like, get the factories down, build a certain amount of bots. In my case, I found in a lot of battles, I could build quickly, like as quickly as possible, build about 25 units. So I didn't even build the actual scout units, just sent about 25 of them off on a scouting run. You establish where the other player is, which I found, the AI is, which actually found easier than I expected. The planets aren't huge, but you realize quite quickly where they're coming from, and you kind of narrow it down, find their base, and you're just all over them straight away. Get straight to their commander, kill it, and you can have the battle over in literally, a lot of mine were less than 10 minutes, because there was just that feeling, I didn't want to establish a big base. There was no need to, and build up a whole ton of units. It was just like, build a few units, get in, kill the commander, and you're done, on to the next one. And that, in all honesty, was my biggest problem with the game. I didn't want to do more than a couple of planets. I just found it was just getting repetitive, unfortunately. I also found the AI to be somewhat predictable in the Galactic War campaign. As I said, once you've worked out what direction it's coming from, I found they sent out smaller units initially to scout you out. Once you realize what direction that unit was coming from, head your own off in that direction, and then as soon as you get across their commander, it's game over. So the AI was a little on the predictable side.
Yeah, I think for me, graphics could have been better. They weren't game-breaking, but not groundbreaking either. As we said earlier, I think it may be because there's a lot going on within the game. As you said already, it feels like you're in a bit of a rush to build up your base before the enemy manages to send that many units your way. And I do tend to like to build up my bases slowly and gradually in RTS games. And with this, you just can't say way too long, and you just get annihilated, and it's quite easy to know where the enemy's coming from, as you pointed out. And yeah, same issue really. It feels repetitive and quite rinse and repeat after a number of battles. Additional planets and buildings and units do help, but only adds a small amount of difference to the battles. As you already said, the planetary map can be quite predictable as to where the enemies are located. There is that kind of fog of war that you get in RTS games, but it always seems that the enemies are located pretty much the opposite side of the planet to where you are. And it does get a bit monotonous, and I found exactly the same, that you just build up some of your forces, send out your scouts, find out where their commander is, and send in units, aim straight for the commander, take him out, and you're done. And yeah, I found the same thing. The battles would be done in under 10 minutes, and yeah, it feels like a waste sort of bothering to build up your forces and stuff like that. But actually in RTS games, I kind of feel like that's part of the game, and I enjoy building up the forces in these types of games. So it does feel a little bit too fast-paced in that sense. In terms of things you would like to have seen in the game, or where you feel they maybe missed a trick?
As I say, if they could have changed the dynamics of the game so that there was more of an incentive to essentially build up your base, like you were just saying. I found with this that there isn't really that incentive to get, you know, a huge base in place, get all those forces, because while you're doing that, you're just giving the AI, the commander, the opportunity to do the same. Whereas it almost came down to being as simple as, yeah, the sooner, you know, it's who builds up just enough forces to get to the other commander quick enough. So I think generally I would have just liked to see them, you know, change the dynamic. I don't necessarily have any way of saying that like it should have been done like this, but I feel like if they could have changed the dynamics just to incentivize base building a bit more, it would have been nice, rather than incentivizing, you know, fast pace, who moves first wins kind of strategy. How about you?
Yeah, I found when controlling the orbital units, it would have been good for the units on the planet below to be blanked out somehow. So I found that when trying to select multiple orbital units to, say, send them to another planet, if your ground units are below, which often they are, you've built your sort of orbital building somewhere within your base, your orbital units are floating above, you zoom out to grab those units and you end up selecting stuff that's on the ground at the same time. So some kind of alternative selection tool, maybe click and drag with the left mouse button or the right mouse button rather than the left mouse button, or something like that, an alternative direction that you select them with would have been quite useful.
Yeah, I noticed exactly the same issue, and I agree on that point, yeah.
So in terms of scores?
So it's hard. I just found it was the repetitive nature and the way the battles could be if you're quick enough won so quickly. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, so I found the game quite fun, but agree it was repetitive because there wasn't quite enough variety between planetary battles. So for me, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay guys, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment, and we'll see you in the next one.